Hello, everyone. I'm Ralph, a software engineer here at Genesys, and in this DevDrop, I'll show you how to work with operational events in Genesys Cloud. First, let's discuss operational events itself. Operational console events, also known as operational events or Ops console, are another tools to troubleshooting in Genesys Cloud. They provide administrators with the necessary details to diagnose and troubleshoot issues. They are actionable in nature, meaning we can run a workflow or function when an operational event occurred. It is similar to how try-catch works on some programming languages, where if an error or exception occurred, it will be caught by an event, and we can provide a logic on what to do if it happens. Genesys Cloud has lots of operational events that administrators and developers can utilize. Can be seen in our Genesys Cloud Developer Center page at the Operational Events catalog. The link to this catalog is in the video description. So we can try to go there right now, and you can see the list here at the developer.genesys.cloud/platform/operational event catalog. So events can come from various Genesys Cloud features like Architect, Audio Hook, Conversation, Email, and so much more. So when we try to look at a specific event, so let's look at the first one. So we can see details about it, like event ID, the JSON payload that it stores and or sends, its definition, functional meaning, expected behavior, possible causes, and steps for troubleshooting and resolving. These details can be helpful in architecting a logic when these operational events occur. With that, we can try these or catch these operational events and do logic in three ways: WebSocket, AWS Event Bridge, and triggers. So let's discuss the difference of the three and show which is ideal for your use case. So the first one is WebSockets. This is best suited for real-time UI displays. They should generally not be used for backend integrations because messages can be lost if the socket drops. The WebSocket can only last for a day, even though it can be extended. The second is AWS Event Bridge. This is ideal when you already use AWS in your project and want to leverage AWS native services for alerting or system-to-system integration. And the last one is process automation triggers, or simply triggers. While the other two are external solutions, this is an internal one. This is a strong fit for teams invested in Genesys Cloud who want to stay entirely within the platform. This pattern allows you to use workflows and the architect to create internal notifications or work items based on error conditions. So in this video, we'll be exploring the use of WebSockets and triggers. For AWS Event Bridge, we have a blog that configures the integration of AWS Event Bridge with Genesys Cloud. It will be in the video description. So before that, let's try to make an operational event that we want to catch by triggering an architect 0001 error, which is this one. This can be done by simply making a workflow that searches something and it cannot be found. So let's go to the architect page and create a workflow. So let's create one that finds a queue and the one that it's querying cannot be found. So let's just try to name this workflow no queue found workflow. So there. So there. So once created, let's try to find the find queue action here. And let's just take a literal and find a queue that doesn't exist. So this one on system queue doesn't exist in the organization. It doesn't have a queue name like that. And then we can store it in the variable queue name. After that, we won't be adding anything. So we won't be doing anything to found or not found. And we'll just end the workflow. And let's just publish this one. So once this is published, we will then need to make a trigger that will make this workflow run. So let's just wait to publish it since it won't be found when we're trying to create a trigger. So it's already published. So let's create a trigger and let's create a trigger that when a user changes its presence, this workflow will run. So can name this as user change presence trigger. So here in the configuration, let's find the topic name v2.users.id.activity. So this one checks the activity of users. And we want to target the no queue found. So it's here. And yeah, so what this does is when a user change its presence or activity, this workflow will always run. So let's create it. Since it's everything is okay, we don't need to change other things. Then we have to make it active. So now that this is active, we can try to test it by changing our presence. So from available, we can change this to away. And yeah, we have created an operational event, but we can't see it or like there's no any notification about it. So we can see it in the operational page by going to IT and integrations and into the operational console. So when we go here, we can see a list of operational events that occur. So we can see the latest one, and it shows the event definition ID, the entity name, the timestamp, and the event details. Since we're trying to look the one that we did, let's go here. And yeah, this is the one that has just been created. So it's 11:06 p.m. And yeah, this is the current time. And this is the one. And you can see when clicking this button, you can see the details that we saw in the Genesys Cloud Developer Center. And here on the additional event details, it gives some additional details about the error. And it sees the current value that it tries to look up and yeah, the non-existent queue. And it shows that an operational event occurred. So now that an operational event is created, we can now create a notification via WebSocket that will immediately catch the creation of an operational event. So let's go to Genesys Cloud Developers Center and use its notification service to create the WebSocket for catching operational events. So it can be seen here at developer.genesys.cloud/notification alerts/notifications. So this page provides the details on how to use the notification service. So the first step is to authorize your application. Depending on how you would use this service, you need to provide credentials that has permissions to create or access this one. So there are two things that we need to do is the first one is to create a channel. This will be the one that will create the WebSocket that we will be connecting to listen to the events. And then the second one is that we need to subscribe to topics, which is similar to the one that we did to the triggers. And fortunately, um, you have to do this via REST API, which meaning be you can implement this in a backend project or external project. And with that, you can handle and create logic when an operational event occurred. So with the use of Genesys Cloud Developer Center, we can test it by using its own tool. We can go here in the available topics, and since we need to be subscribing to the operational events, let's search for v2.operations. It's here. So from this page, we can create our own channel and also the subscription that we will push to the channel. So let's try to add a new channel. So this is the new one. And then we have to provide the operational event ID or the definition ID that we want to subscribe to, which is architect001. So let's type it that one and let's subscribe. So with that, the channel is already subscribed to listening to v2 operations.events with the ID of architect001. And with this, we can connect actually to Genesis to the WebSocket with the Genesis Cloud Developer Center by clicking this button on the lower right side. And as you can see, there is a notifications panel here, and we can see the notifications or the channels that we are streaming right now. So there's no list yet. And actually, we can test this right now, or you can also test this externally since there is the WebSocket URI on this one. So we can copy this one and use a tool like Postman to connect to this WebSocket. So let's try to connect it also. So since we are connected already, we can try to make an operational event. So let's try to change our presence again to available. And when we go back to this page, as you can see, there's already a list that is added about the operational event that we did, which is architect0001 error, which we will also receive here in Postman. So yeah, this is how you create a WebSocket to handle operational events. And we actually created a blog that has a sample Node.js project that receives the optional event details and connects to the WebSocket that is created. And it's actually here in the Genesys Cloud Developer Center with the title, How to Work with Operational Events. So the link to this blog is in the video description. So aside from the WebSocket and AWS Event Bridge solution, you can also use triggers actually. So we can go back in the triggers. So when you use these to create another workflow to handle the operational events. So you can see here, I've created a operational event trigger here. And the topic name is the v2.operations.events.id. So with another trigger, we can handle these operational events to run a certain workflow. So this workflow actually only sends email and it will send the event data or the JSON data to this email to me. And you can actually do that by when going to the triggers, since this will go to that workflow. I've set the data format to JSON. And in order to filter which event will trigger this workflow, I have to define conditions. So given the event schema of this operational event, you can see that the event entity.id contains the definition ID of the event. So I've set the condition as event entity.id should be equal to architect 0001. Because if I didn't put this, all of the operational events that will occur will trigger this workflow. So what I would just want to be sent an email is this type of event. So when we try to activate this and save it and try to create an operational event by changing again the status, and when I try to check my email, I received an email for the operational event and with its details. So yeah, that's operational events and what we can do with it. I hope this helps with you and your organization create troubleshooting processes in Genesys Cloud to reduce errors. Please do visit the Genesys Cloud Developer Center for the latest blogs, blueprints, accelerators, guides, DevDrops, and other resources. I hope to see you again on my next DevDrop. Bye.